Hello patrons. I thought I'd put together a short video today as a thank you really for your support over the last few months and to give you a better insight into what actually goes on behind the scenes here at Chadwick. At long last the viaduct is starting to take shape and I've constructed this hillside out of purely polystyrene and it's put me back days because of problems with the polystyrene sticking together and gluing and other such problems, but you'll see most of that when it comes to the video's release. There's the viaduct kind of in place, it's not stuck down, and I'm going to build this hillside and then the other hillside before I do the river, and then once all this is in and covered with a kind of a paper mache, then I shall put the river in before I start sprinkling stuff in, because I don't want to put the river in after after all the dressing's on, because if that then goes into the wet epoxy resin it will ruin the river. So I'm kind of juggling those ideas at the moment. I thought as a bit of foreground interest here that I would put in a roadway which would go across. So here's a couple of the old cheapy Pico road type bits, girder bridge, and they will kind of go across there and give it a bit of interest. And to avoid this sweeping side, I thought I would change it to steps, so I'll make a little bit of more of a rocky feature. These are some old bits of rock from a previous layout, so that will kind of give you the effect, hopefully, of how it will shape up. Just looking over to the other side here, that will have more of a steeper type of embankment on it, and the way this will kind of sweep down, but also the hillside will sweep in, and that's my current plan. But it has been so difficult trying to construct this one. People have asked what sort of camera gear I use. Well, I use this this kind of beast of a Sony camera, and I used to use it for Kingfisher projects when I used to do a lot of work down on the riverside. And it's a pretty nifty camera. It's not 4K. You know, sadly these things diminish in value quite quickly, but it does the job. And lighting wise, I tend to use LED panels, and here's one of those panels, and it's made by, I think it's Godox, but I'm fortunate in I've got a high glide in this room. Excuse my wobbly hands, but if I move this around you can see I have a high glide system because this room used to be my photographic studio. A wider shot of the railway room would give you a kind of sense of scale. Excuse the state of the place, but I'm afraid between shoots this is always the way it is. There's a window here when the sun streams through there in the afternoon, so I tend to do my recording in the mornings, otherwise the light becomes just far too stark. And I've got a sink and stuff over this side, which I can make myself a cup of tea and crack on with the videos. So that's the kind of wide look. And here I am back in the usual position which I use for recording. That little Sony camera is very, very useful. I have a wide and telephoto button on this little remote, which makes things so much easier rather than keep changing the camera position. So where do we go from here? Well, I've got several projects ongoing at the same time. I've obviously got this one, the monster one, the viaduct piece of scenery, and hopefully when this is finished, which I really, really hope is the end of next week, what I might do with this module is, whilst I fit it into that area over there, I might actually leave it portable, because I'm a member of the West Camel Model Railway Society, a model railway club down here in Somerset, and I might actually bring this little piece along to our summer show, because I can construct the fiddle yard without needing this one to be connected, just as a little exhibit, should it be good enough, that is. But that show, which takes place on the 22nd of June, it's not an exhibition as it were, it's more of club layout. So the standard of work is not quite as good, or you could say a little bit lower, but you know, we try to encourage our own modelers, because we can't all be perfect modelers, we all learn from each other, which is what the hobby is really all about. So that's the future of this piece here. On the subject of shows, I am the exhibitions manager for my sins for West Camel, so I'm always out and about at shows trying to find layouts for our Christmas exhibition, which takes place this year on, I think it's the 28th of December, down here in Somerset, and if you're around then please come along. In the meantime, this weekend, which is I can't remember the dates. Hang on. Which is the bank holiday, which is the 3rd, 4th and 5th of May. There is a show known as the Bristol Model Railway exhibition, like I say, 3rd to the 5th of May, at a place called Thornbury, which is just north of Bristol. And on the Friday, the 3rd of May, it's open from 1 o'clock, and then all day Saturday the 4th and Sunday the 5th, and that's a bank holiday weekend. But I'm going to go along on Saturday for a good look around and see if I can find some good layouts for our Christmas show. And if you're in the area, you know, perhaps you'll come along and say hello, may I have a cup of tea? You never know. I've also been involved with a guy called David Townend, and he owns a railway down in Bournemouth called McKinley Railway. And hopefully there may be a link here perhaps to his website, to his YouTube channel, and that'll be the phone. God, you couldn't make it up, could you? Another nuisance phone call, but I won't edit that one out. So David Townend down in Bournemouth owns a massive layout, and I've been involved with him. Sadly, his last videographer died, and he'd shot 10 films which needed to be uploaded and kind of tweaked and stuff. So I went down there for a few days and helped him out with that, and shot a couple of videos for him, which I think I schedule them all for release every 2 weeks up into August. But it's the end of July, August videos that are my work, rather than the chap that passed away. But there we go, that's why I've been involved with him. But it's a good eye-opener because it's such a monstrous layout. It's huge. And but hopefully I'll leave a link and you can check it out yourselves. So what else have I been up to, or my future projects? Well, I have a list of things that I'm interested in doing and projects that I've started, well, video projects that I've started. They are, as it refers to as a bit of paper. Let's have a little look. Can't find it. I found the piece of paper. What I've got on signal boxes. I'm halfway through some shoots on signal boxes because I found a signal box down in Totnes. An ordinary sort of Great Western signal box had been converted into a cafe, and I thought, what a good idea. So what I'll do is run a video on converting signal boxes to other use. And I believe there's also one in Bodmin down in Cornwall that's also a cafe. So it's an interesting piece. The other thing I've got going is I thought I'd do a series on back to basics. So covers basic stuff like ballasting and point modification, that kind of thing. And if there's anything there that might interest you, then please drop me an email or leave a comment or whatever. If you'd like a video in particular that you'd like me to cover, and I'll have a little look into that and see if it's feasible. What else have I done? Signal boxes, this viaduct, ballasting. Also, I'll carry on with the wiring side. I always like to do a bit of wiring on the DCC side because it can be quite complicated. I'm also halfway through a shoot on Hymec diesel hydraulics. I've shot one, I think pulling something like 18 coaches just to see what sort of power they can do. So all these things are kind of ticking over in the background. Another hot topic is tools, and I thought I'd cover a little video on those because so often I've bought stuff and it's been in the bin a couple of weeks later because the old saying of buy cheap, you'll end up buying twice, and I've recently done that with a glue gun. It was absolutely dreadful. I bought this cheap and nasty glue gun, turned it on, used it, left it to one side, and it just seemed to empty all of its glue all over the table. And I've recently reinvested into a not high end, but a decent sort of glue gun and some Bostik glue sticks, I should say. And that kind of works together, and it holds this part of the viaduct, the scenery here quite well. So that's where I am today. I'll wrap this one up. Hopefully this is some use to you, a little insight into what I'm all about, and perhaps you'll leave a comment on what you're all about. So thanks once more for your support, and I'll see you at the next update. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.